Hello there everyone, my name is Crazy Caleb and welcome to Password Hexaterminals. Now this module, it looks like a very intimidating mod and trust me, it's not. So what our goal here is that we're going to have a hexagonal grid of terminals, and as you can see if we zoom in a little bit closer, it's a little bit bright, sorry about that, we're going to have a series of letters on each of the 6 sides of each of the hexagons. And what's going to happen here is that we can select hexagons to change the letters each time we do that. And after a series of, I believe, 6 rotations, because it's a hexagon, 6 rotations makes sense, it's going to set it back to what it originally was. There's no problem with that whatsoever, and there's actually no way you can strike on this. So our goal here is we're going to be trying to figure out a way to spell a series of different words with each individual direction spelling out a word at some given point. So this module itself, not too hard and actually a pretty easy solo. So I'm going to turn down the music volume just in case, one little notch. So what our goal is, like I said, is we're trying to spell words, and it's actually pretty easy to do this because once you find a word in here, it actually becomes pretty easy to take care of. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So let's start off by actually forming a word with one of the smaller sections here, because what's going to happen is each direction is going to have a series of sides that are going to spell out one word. So in this case, this delta, the Sierra, the India, the delta, the, I believe, Bravo, and then the kilo. The orientation can be a little screwy sometimes, and it's not really that nice. But effectively, those 6 positions are going to spell out a word at some point. And it's ideal to effectively find the word around each of the edges, because what that's going to do is that's going to basically lock those positions in, and we only have to worry about spelling out the longer word with these 3 spots. It actually becomes a lot easier, so trust me. You'll see what I mean, and the module actually tells you when you have a word, and it will start pointing arrows in that specific direction of the word. So let's see how we can do this. So honestly, there is a legitimate method of brute forcing this, because there's not many words that you can actually make combinations with. So what we can do here is we can simply just go for it. We can brute force it and see if there's anything in here. I can maybe see it starting with EN. But the ideal way of doing this is you just simply do the patterns effectively. You don't have to really spell out a word. And it's ideal to make sure that they actually they actually make sense. So in this case, I don't think S and D are going to make sense. It might end with NG, and the direction of which these words are going to be spelled is actually unknown. So we can start here. UV, LG doesn't make sense. MM does not make sense. TX does not make sense. So it actually might not be NG. Let's have a look. NT, GV, QJ, QW. Oh, this is weird. It might actually be NG for all I know. But you can try and form a word. It's probably advised that you do it for this first little bit. And once you form one, it actually becomes really easy because all you simply need to do is you simply need to figure out the position. There almost always is a case where it's just one word by itself. So let's see if we can even figure out. Oh, here we go. And just like that, as you can see, we have arrows that are showing us that we found our word. In this case, it's EN, I believe DI. Yeah, it's ending. Our word here is ending. ENDING. So therefore, that is a word that is acceptable. And now what we need to do is we now need to do it with all of these different directions. So now effectively what this means, and I think 99% of the time I haven't found a case where a word that is actually made sense is actually wrong. This pretty much confirms these positions. These don't really need to move anymore, so therefore all we simply need to do is we simply need to move these 2 in order to form a new word going in this direction, and these 2 in order to move a new word going in that direction. So this part actually becomes really easy. So with a DR, or maybe BR, let's figure out what word we can spell here. And this is totally brute forceable for sure. So J doesn't make sense. S doesn't make sense. It's got to be a vowel. Maybe bronze? Yeah, bronze. There we go. Just like that. As you can see, it did indeed form a word. So let's continue on. Let's over here. TE might be the beginning. RZ. Temel, no. Tefts. Tecu. Oh, I found it. And as you can see, the directions will change. That they can go in any real direction as long as they form a word in that direction. So it's one of two directions, effectively. And in this case, this word was HE LMET. So helmet. Helmet was our word there. And as you can see, things are going to start coming together, and it's actually going to be quite satisfying of a solve. But as you can see here, once we get these in sort of confirmed spots, it definitely becomes a lot easier to figure out what word that we're looking at here, what the positions of each of them are, and how much easier it actually will become later on. So let's figure this out. So this is likely the beginning here. Clergy. Yep. Clergy is our word here. So we've got ST. That's likely our starting. Could be our starting or our ending. Okay. That was SHOUTS. So shouts. And now all we simply need to do is find the position in between these two that line up and make a word. And there we go. So now this is that's the hard part done, is effectively finding the starting position. Now we just simply need to find these last 7 points to figure out and solve the rest of the module. And remember, the hard part, the reason why we want to avoid these is because we're trying to because with these is we're going to be having cells that are going to have multiple lineups that need to have happen. So in this case, let's focus on getting the cross bit, because there's only 2 bits. There's only 2 spots that we really need to worry about. So the way that this module works is we want to minimize this as much as possible. And as you can see, I'm not even caring about the words anymore. I'm just caring whether we can set them to the correct positions or not. Let's focus on these 2. Okay, we got one there accidentally. So it's just about figuring out these ones here. Ahaha, here we go. So now this one needs to get lined up. Bingo. And as you can see, it is quite satisfying. I need to get this back into the position. There we go. And now to finish off these last 2, okay?
Well done.
And just like that is a solved module. So that's all there really is to it. It's just a lot of brute forcing it, and as you can see, that did not take nearly as long. And I'm going to try and speedrun this next time around. But once you figure out one word, you can figure out the rest from there on out. It's a fairly simple module to do, and it's actually not that bad to understand. Nor is there really any need to try and figure out the words. There's no real need to figure that out, or try to figure out these Caesar shifts as they go forward. There's no encryption method to it. It's just finding a word. And there's a reason why we start with those, because all the edges are 6-letter words, whereas the middle bits can have up to, I believe, 12, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 12-letter words. It's just much easier to handle that. So let's start up at the top again. So SH could be a good starting point. SH OC. Shocked. Shocks. Bingo. There we go. And now let's just do exactly what we did beforehand. So we've got DE, or ED potentially. That could be the end. PO could be a good starting point. it's not that. AD... doesn't seem to be the case. BC does not make sense. RS does not make sense. Or it could make sense for all we know. DE... There we go. DESI... Or, excuse me, BE... Beside myself. Yep. That's the way that this module makes me feel. So DE... As you can see, the letters are not really that reliable, and they're easy to mess up. So this is why I just say don't worry about the words. Just make sure that you find the positions that correct. It's annoying. There we go. Nothing is immediately coming to mind. And just make sure that you give it a moment too so that the arrows do flash. It doesn't immediately show up. So just be very careful that you have to wait a minute. Here we go. SKAC. Okay, not that. Skinny. Okay, there we go. All right, so lovely. We now have the edge entirely complete. Perfect. And we didn't even have to worry about this one at all. It was already in the correct position, so that's quite nice. So now let's worry about these two, and then the middle three. So SA ending with it could be either way. There we go. Okay. Lovely. Okay, perfect. That works. Bingo. And lovely. And that's just like that. As you can see, that took me under 4 minutes. It's not a bad solo to do. It's nothing that I would be too concerned about. It's just, it takes a little bit of effort, and it takes a little bit of brute force. So, as always, thank you guys for watching. Remember to stay crazy, stay cool, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.